To another night of show and share. This Tuesday before Mother's Day, I've forgotten what date it was, somewhere around the 8th, I believe. The 9th, thank you. We're going to start it off with Sean and some shrinky trinkets.
Yeah, so we recently sort of restarted the series of Friday night crafting social series, and I decided I wanted to kickstart them with some nostalgic type of things. So our first one we did was the little plastic fuse beads, the perler beads, and I was reminded of the existence of Shrinky Dinks, which if you don't know those, it's just like it's like a thermoplastic sheet. I think it's number 6 plastic. So if you have a number 6 plastic container at home, you could do DIY Shrinky Dinks. But basically you just draw real big and it shrinks them down to like 20 or 30% of their original size. And of course, like I do with anything new that I'm experimenting with, I have to start with the Knox Makers logo. So that is, I'll show you the original scale of it here. So yeah, so when I first started, they both took up the size of my hand, thereabouts. I also did just my little logo that I do for some of my stuff. And then, yeah, they both filled the palm of my hand. And then, yeah, when they put them in the oven for a few minutes, they shrink right up. And so it's pretty fun. I'm still figuring out ways to not have them bleed and get all runny and stuff. But, yeah, so and then I also did just like a third one. And I'll be putting that one into the capsules, which are in the on the table right out here. If you don't know what those are, we got a capsule vending machine, and so at events that Knox Makers goes to, we can hopefully show off some of what people make. That anything that can fit in the capsules, we're welcoming people to put something in there, and lots of people have so far, and we got a good collection going. But if you're interested, the capsules are all there on the table. Grab a capsule, grab a lid, grab a couple, whatever will fit in the 2-inch capsules, and we are welcoming anything you got to make. So at least one of these will be going in there, and probably a few more. And we're also going to be holding, date TBD, but doing a Shrinky Dinks crafting social BYOB night. So look out for that coming up probably in a few weeks. So thanks. Oh, to Kobe, I saw you said okay. All right. All right. Any other questions? All right. Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. I know Fiber Arts has definitely made their contributions to there. We have some tatting, excuse me, and some barrettes with ribbon roses. Today, I finally saw something from outside of the Fiber Arts area, and that were some earrings. I don't know if that came from machining, maybe metalworking. Aha! Thank you. So yeah, maybe some more 3D printing. I saw the sign language dice we had a show and share last week on. So that's great. Anything that would fit in that little capsule. Next up, we have Daryl with a tool stand.
Howdy. I'm usually up here talking about blacksmithing, which is what I'm into. This is what my tool setup looks like at home. I got a bunch of tongs. I fling them under my anvil stand. Partially that's a place where you put hot stuff. So if I'm using tongs and they're hot, I throw them under there. But that's kind of an all-purpose kind of storage place, and it's not very pretty, right? It's pretty gross. My hammer situation is similar. When I'm hammering, when I'm actually working the metal, I'll just drop a hammer on the anvil or on the ground, stalk up, handle up, and work from there. And it's not a great look. And I've just got all these tools spread out all over my garage, or in a like 3-foot square area of my garage, and it's gross. I wanted to make something nicer. We've got a pretty cool tool stand, like rolling tool stand, out in the blacksmith shop. And I thought, well, I could make something like that, or maybe even something stationary. So I drew up some plans, like really rough plans for a metal, simple metal tool stand, and went to price the metal, and it was going to be $200. and I'm cheap, and I didn't want to spend $200 on a poorly made a tool stand, which is kind of my standard for fabrication stuff. So, in the spirit of, Bronco a few weeks ago talked about using every piece of wood he had. I had a bunch of wood lying around, and so I took some 4x4 like cut-offs from when I made my anvil stand, and I had some decking board, and I just hammered those, and some plywood, and I hammered those together into kind of this, which is, seen from directly above a post. You can see I've got a little bit of, well, obviously some caulk. So I didn't do really good in progress shots here, but you can get a sense. There's the plywood foot, there's the vertical shaft of a 4x4, and there's some slats across to just give it some support. So I made 2 of these and connected them with decking boards. And then I put a T-bar, like a piece across as well. So there's a different view. It just shows a little better. I wanted to put a peg in there just to keep that. This is not well assembled, right? This is not polished carpentry or anything. So I put pegs in the legs and holes in the top 4x4, just to kind of reduce, to give it a little more stability, right? So that's what that looks like. And I built this thing, which if you're into precision work, look away, save yourselves. I just kind of heated up and banged some metal into kind of U-bars. They obviously, I didn't measure very well because you can see the bowing. I probably should have used stouter metal than I used. This is, I don't know, thin stock, pretty thin. But in the end, came out looking like this, which is a much improved situation from having everything out on the floor. There is some chance it will tip over. The feet are oriented such that it probably won't, but I may replace those with stouter feet or put some other kind of bracing, something on it. And I've also, I don't have it pictured here, but I also made some, I put some 2x4s down the side and drilled angled holes, like 1/2-inch holes in them, to accommodate like punches and drifts and stuff like that. So we got all that stuff right there in my little stand. It clears garage space, and it looks better than it did, although it's still not beautiful. But that's what I got. So, thanks. Questions? Yes?
Are you annoyed with the handles being on the bottom side instead of the top?
No, I prefer it. I prefer it. Well, let me take that back. I would love to have a situation where I've got like something with a grate or some kind of cup situation that would still let heat diffuse, so I could put the tong in there and not just have it burning up and heating up the whole situation. And then I'd like to have them handle up. But this is, I think, pretty typical. It's how ours in the shop are oriented, so I thought I'd go with that. But I did think about trying to find a way to invert them and was lazy in the end. So. Thank you. Good question. Yes, sir.
You may have already just addressed it, but are your tools hot when you're putting it in that road?
No, I'm still, when I'm using hot tools, I'll leave them out of that because it is, the stand is wood, so I want to be careful. Anytime I'm using a tool or have some hot metal, I still throw it, tongs or hot metal, I throw it under the anvil stand just as a best practice and a safety practice. I just presume anything under there is going to destroy my skin, right? But then when it's cooled down, then I can go take it, not just leave a whole bunch of tongs rusting on the garage floor, but put them in place. So, yeah. Cool. Thank y'all.
That's great. Okay, Tracy. I forgot to look to see what you were doing. It'd be a surprise.
It's a surprise. Hopefully not a surprise to me. So for one of my classes this semester, I had to make a Python package, a geospatial Python package. Come on. I don't know how to use this thing. Someday I'll show it to you. Oh, good question. It's one of the space laptops.
Yeah, it's all
This is failure.
This thing's not, I know what it is.
If you can describe it to us and it'll look amazing.
Yeah, right? Describing coding, that's even worse than showing coding on the screen. I'll read you my program. Definition, yeah? Windows. No. There you go. Oh, yay. Okay, so for one of my classes, I had to make a Python package, spatial Python package. And what I made was converting a CSV that has latitude and longitude and like put it into a good format to show on a web map. So Streamlit is an app that's on the internet that helps you make like interactive websites. This is just a demo of how to see the package that I made. But basically what it does is it'll take any CSV, and when I say any, I mean ones that I have tested before and have in my example file, and it will change the coordinates into decimal, latitude, and longitude. So if you have something that's in like degree minute format or a different projection, because there's different projections depending on where the world you are, it will change it into latitude and longitude and then be able to display it on a map. And then there's another web app it works with called Leaf Map that it will show like the tags that you've chosen. Because you know, if you click on the little pop-up on the map, it will, you might not want to see every information about that file, but it'll show like the name or whatever you picked. So I'm going to demo it for you now. So here's one of my examples. And you put it in the blank here, and then it asks you which field has the latitude and which field has the longitude. And if you want to change the projection, you can do that. And hey, look, all the dots are right on the map. And then we can do another one where you do have to change the projection. You can choose the latitude and longitude and change the projection, because this one is in Tennessee, so it's projected to be specific to Tennessee. And then it'll show up on the map. So this is just the display of it. It's all on GitHub for a class that I took, but I'm really, and you can download it on PyPy even. It's like a real thing that I made for people, so that makes me really happy. So that's my project, yeah.
Are those red dots like coffee shops?
No, there's schools in Tennessee. There's a lot more. The file actually had 2,000 and I had to cut it down because it was taking too long to load. But any other questions?
So you can zoom in and click on one dot?
This one you can't because that's not how this website works, but the other map that you can put it into, you can zoom in it and click on the dot and it'll show like what the information about it is, whatever you've chosen to say about it. But that one's not as easy to show as a last minute project, so I'm not showing it tonight. It takes the CSV file and puts it into a data frame and just like manipulates the numbers and the headers. Because this website, you also need to have specific headers. It has to say lat and lon, L-O-N. It can't say, in this example, it has X and Y in the headers. So it'll take the headers and change it in order to load it into the map easily. So you don't have to change your raw data. You don't have to change your CSV at all. You can just theoretically put it on here just straight up. And it'll take local files or websites. So
So which part of this web interface did you do, or are you doing the translation of data?
the translation of the data, yeah. So you can use it, even if you're not using this website at all, you can download the package and use it for other CSV transformations. That's it, yeah?
CSV is different from CVS, or, thinking of the graphics.
CSV is comma separated value. So like Excel file, but with no extra stuff. Yeah, it looks like that. So it's just all the values with commas in between. Thanks. I'm not gonna put that back.
That's a lot of schools. Lots of lines of code, yeah. All right, this concludes the sign-up sheet for show and shares. Is there anybody else that has something that they would like to share? All right, Jennifer. I don't know how to turn it back on, Billy. You did lots of buttons.
Does it show on the screen? Oh, it does.
Yeah, now.
Okay, so, years ago, I used to make jewelry, still have a whole ton of it that I'm going to have at the Makers Market to sell. But I realized that when we moved, I got rid of my neat cork boards that had fabric on them and looked all pretty that I used to display everything on. So today, while my husband was doing some metalworking, I went fishing. And on the hack rack, I found these chunks of styrofoam. And then I went over to Fiber Arts and I found some kind of interesting material. It's like paper and fabric. So I cut it out and I used a bunch of spray adhesive. And now I have these neat little boards that I can just tack my pins into and display my jewelry. And they're really lightweight and easy to store. So I will have them for years to come, I'm sure, if I still have more jewelry. Speaking of, I have a booth, but I'm not going to use all of it. So if anybody wants to pair with me and use some of my booth, let me know. Any questions on these?
That's the true sense of making. Just come shopping on a hat rack, yeah. All right, Amy, I believe I saw your hand.
So I think I showed a couple people this, but one of my friends has a pet starling. Turns out if a wildlife rehabber catches a nestling or an injured bird, since they're invasive, you're not allowed to let them back out. They're like very, very invasive. That's why there's so many of them. So she got one from a wildlife rehabber, which means she gets to keep it as a pet. And his name is Blue. He's very cute. But the thing is, they don't behave the same way that parrots do. They're very, very different birds. But since parrots are much more common pets, pet stores have just parrot toys for things that parrots like to do. But starlings, among other things, really like to... In the wild, they'll forage in the soil for bugs by poking down and then like spreading their bill out. And he really loves to do that to like soda cans, to the carpet, to anything he can get his grubby little beak on. I mentioned, I just learned how to use the laser cutter, so I asked her if she wanted anything. And she did a starling toy. So what he's doing right there is I made that little box. On one side has a lid with honeycomb in it, so she can open it up, put any dry foods in, or in this case, shredded spinach. And he'll just like poke his little beak in, try to forage as if he was in the wild. On the other side, I mentioned he really likes to like take his beak and spread things out. So on this side of the box, you just flip it over, and I 3D printed these blocks and then sealed in the top side of this, so the blocks won't come out, but he can slide them back and forth, which he loves to do. And in this case, she put some mealworms inside as little rewards. I told her not to put anything wet on this side because it'll get really gross. She can't open it. But yeah, he seems to really like it. He just pokes around and plays with it, and that's it. questions? Cool.
Thank you, Amy. That's really cool the way he can get his beak in there and play. Anybody else that would like to share? Going once? Going twice? All right. We'll move it along then to classes. We've got the Intro to TIG Welding that's coming up on the 12th. I believe that's Friday night. Also, MIG Welding Intro on the 17th. That just got posted today. Excuse me. Laser Auth on Saturday the 13th. Stained Glass Saturday the 13th. Wow, busy day. As well as a woodworking authorization on the 13th. New members onboarding is coming up. Is that Tuesday or Thursday? Tuesday night. So next Tuesday following show and share. We've got some more embroidery auth classes coming up. Slow jams in the workshop. There's a Tormac sharpening authorization. You can find all of these on the events calendar and get signed up to pay. The only other thing I have for tonight is asking for volunteers. We're an all-volunteer organization. We have jobs around the space that need to be done. So if you like to paint or clean, or I'm sure we can find something for you to do, hook you up with the job. Let's talk to Russell. He's not here tonight. He wasn't feeling well, but you'll need to talk to Russell. Also, we have a request for volunteers for the Maker Market that's coming up on June 11th. So I'm sure we can hook you up with whatever you can do. There's parking lot, people parking, directing parking, going around with helping the vendors. There's all sorts of tasks. And then more imminent is going to be doing the trash and the air filters tonight. I noticed the air filters were kind of dirty, so can we get a volunteer to do either or, and or? All right, thank you, David. And Daryl, thank you. And we'll work on getting that toilet fixed, so, oh, yes, sir.
Do you have somebody to fix the toilet? Have swapped those valves out.
Yeah, we're gonna go get the part and get it fixed.
No, do you have somebody to fix it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
fine.
we do. Yep. All right, that's it. So let's go out and make stuff.